Enjoy our spine-chilling stories as you sleep, commute, or relax. If you're new, hit subscribe and share with friends and family. Let us know in the comments how we can improve. Our stories are best experienced with headphones on. Now, let's dive into today's tale.
Warning: the following stories contain elements of horror that explore themes of the supernatural, possession, psychological terror, and gruesome transformations. They are intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for those sensitive to graphic imagery or themes of death, entrapment, and eternal damnation. Listener discretion is advised. 3 True Sleep Paralysis Horror Stories. The Shadow Man and Nightmares You Can't Escape. What is sleep paralysis? Sleep paralysis is a phenomenon where a person, either falling asleep or waking up, finds themselves temporarily unable to move or speak. Their mind is awake, but their body remains locked in a state of muscle atonia, a natural mechanism that prevents us from acting out dreams. Scientists attribute it to disrupted REM sleep cycles, often triggered by stress, irregular sleep patterns, or underlying conditions like narcolepsy. It affects roughly 8% of the population regularly, though one-time episodes are far more common. Up to 40% of people experience it at least once, according to a 2011 study in Sleep Medicine Reviews. For those caught in its grip, the sensation is suffocating. Your chest feels crushed under an invisible weight. Your limbs are leaden, and every attempt to scream dies in your throat. Abigail Warren's journal described it vividly. It's like drowning in air. I can see everything, hear my own heartbeat, but I'm a prisoner in my skin. Story number 1, The Watcher of Marquette. October 1st, 2014, Marquette, Michigan. The wind howled off Lake Superior, rattling the loose panes of Spooner Hall, a squat brick dormitory at Northern Michigan University. Daniel Carter, a 20-year-old sophomore and wing on the Wildcats hockey team, sat hunched over his desk, the glow of his laptop casting shadows across his freckled face. He'd been up late, cramming for a psych midterm, when exhaustion hit like a slap shot. He stumbled to his narrow bed, collapsing atop the rumpled comforter without bothering to kick off his sneakers. At 2:13 a.m., he jolted awake, or thought he did. His body wouldn't move. His arms, legs, even his eyelids felt cemented in place, though his eyes darted wildly around the room. A crushing weight pressed against his ribs, as if an invisible lineman had tackled him to the ice. His breath came in shallow gasps, and over the thudding of his own pulse, he heard it. Slow, deliberate footsteps circling his bed. Panic clawed at his chest, but his voice was a prisoner in his throat. Then, as suddenly as it began, the weight lifted. He bolted upright, sweat soaking his NMU hoodie, and grabbed a spiral notebook from his nightstand. Journal entry, October 1st, 2014. Woke up at 2 a.m. Couldn't move. Felt like a brick was on my chest. Heard footsteps circling my bed, loud, like boots on wood. Gone in a minute, but my hands are still shaking. What the hell was that? The next morning, bleary-eyed over cafeteria coffee, Daniel flipped through his psych textbook. Sleep paralysis, a state where the mind wakes before the body, trapped in REM atonia, the muscle paralysis that stops you from flailing during dreams. It happened when REM cycles misfired, often from stress, irregular sleep, or genetics. A 2011 Sleep Medicine Reviews study pegged it at 8% chronic sufferers, 40% one-timers. Daniel juggling practice, classes, and a part-time gig at the campus bookstore, ticked all the boxes. Just my brain screwing with me, he muttered, brushing it off. But Marquette, a gritty town hugging Michigan's Upper Peninsula, had a way of turning shadows into something more. Spooner Hall sat a mile from the old Marquette Iron Range, where miners once carved iron ore from the earth. Local lore whispered of the Watcher, a spectral figure in a tattered coat, guarding the veins after a 1902 collapse killed 13 men. Daniel had heard the tales from his teammate Jake Miller, a lanky freshman with a penchant for ghost stories. They say it's still down there, waiting. Jake had grinned over beers at the Upfront and Company bar in September 2014. Daniel had laughed until now. October 4th, 2014. The shadow takes shape. The episodes returned 3 nights later, sharper, darker. Daniel woke at 3:07 a.m., pinned again, the air thick with a damp, earthy chill that didn't belong in his overheated dorm. The footsteps were back, heavier, circling tighter. Then he saw it. A shadow by the window, tall and hunched, its outline jagged like a miner's coat, snagged on rock. No face, just a void where features should have been. A low hum vibrated through the floorboards, like machinery grinding deep underground. His heart jackhammered as he willed his fingers to twitch, his toes to curl. After an eternity, maybe 40 seconds, the paralysis broke. He lunged for his journal. Journal entry, October 4th, 2014. It's back. Saw a shadow by the window, tall, hunched, like a man in a miner's coat. No face, just darkness. Heard a hum, like engines in the mines. Room smelled like wet dirt. I tried to yell for Jake across the hall, but my voice was gone. Lasted longer this time. I'm freaking out. Jake, roused by Daniel's shaky knock at 5 a.m., rubbed sleep from his eyes. You look like hell, man. Bad dream. Daniel recounted the episode, voice trembling. Jake, sprawled on his beanbag chair, shrugged. Sounds like sleep paralysis. My cousin gets that. Sees weird crap, too. It's just your head, dude. Daniel nodded, wanting to believe it, but the hum lingered in his ears like a warning. Sleep paralysis hallucinations were common, he'd read. 75% of sufferers sensed a presence, often menacing. Shadows, intruders, even the old hag sitting on your chest. Dr. Priya Sharma, a sleep specialist quoted in a 2014 NPR segment, called it the amygdala misfiring. The brain paints vivid threats from memory scraps, amplified by fear. Daniel's watcher matched the pattern, but the hum, the earthy stench, they felt too real, too rooted in Marquette's bones. October 8th, 2014. The voice in the dark. The next episode came 4 nights later after a brutal practice left, Daniel bruised and drained. He crashed at midnight only to wake, or not, at 2:45 a.m., immobilized. The shadow was closer now, looming at the foot of his bed, its faceless head tilted as if studying him. The hum grew louder, a rhythmic drone that pulsed in his skull. Then it spoke. You're mine, boy. The voice was gravelly, choked with dirt, each word scraping like a pickaxe on stone. Cold skeletal fingers brushed his neck, and the room filled with the reek of damp earth and rust. Daniel's mind screamed, but his body stayed locked. When it released him, he scrambled to his desk, hands trembling as he wrote. Journal entry, October 8th, 2014. It spoke tonight. You're mine, boy. Gravelly, like it was choking on dirt. Felt cold fingers on my neck. Bony, real. The hum's louder, and I swear, I smelled rust, like old blood. This isn't my head, it's something else. I can't shake it. By morning, Daniel was a wreck. He skipped psych class, pacing the dorm's common room, replaying the voice. Jake found him there, clutching a lukewarm Monster energy drink. "You're scaring me, man," Jake said, his usual grin gone. "It's just sleep paralysis. You're stressed. Hockey, school, chill out." Daniel shook his head. "It's not just me. It's this place." That afternoon, he hit the NMU library, digging into Marquette's mining history. A yellowed 1903 mining journal article detailed the collapse. 13 miners trapped, their bodies never recovered. Locals claimed a watcher haunted the shafts, claiming souls to replace the lost. Librarian Edith Grayson, a wiry woman with silver hair, leaned over his shoulder. "Old tales," she said, "but some swear they've seen it near the Jackson Mine." October 12th to 15th, 2014, Descent into Terror. The episodes escalated. October 12th. It's every night now. The watcher's closer, right by my pillow. "Mine," it keeps saying. The hum shakes my bed. I taped the window shut, but it's still here. October 14th. Felt its breath. Cold, wet, smells like a grave. I can't sleep anymore. Daniel withdrew, skipping practice, his blue eyes hollow. Jake, alarmed, dragged him to the student health center on October 15th. The nurse, a brisk woman named Karen, diagnosed sleep deprivation and prescribed rest. "Avoid sleeping on your back," she said. "It triggers paralysis." Daniel nodded blankly, but that night he wrote, "It doesn't matter. It's waiting." October 16th, 2014. It grabbed me, fingers like iron around my arms. "You're coming," it said, the hums deafening. "I see a tunnel, dark, endless. Help me." The next morning, October 17th, Jake woke to silence. Daniel's bed was empty, sheets twisted, his journal open on the floor. A final scrawl. "It's here." I can't fight it. Campus police searched Spooner Hall, finding no forced entry, no clues. Jake, pale and hoarse, told the Marquette Mining Journal on October 20th, 2014. He kept saying something was watching him. I should have believed him. October 23rd, 2014. The rescue. For 6 days, Daniel was gone. Police combed Marquette. Flyers plastered campus with his photo. Tousled brown hair, lopsided grin. Then, on October 23rd, a groundskeeper near the abandoned Jackson Mine, 10 miles south, spotted a figure staggering through the pines. Daniel, frostbitten and disoriented, collapsed into the man's arms, muttering, "The dark." It let me go. His clothes were torn, his sneakers caked with red dirt, as if he'd clawed his way out of the earth. At Marquette General Hospital, Dr. Priya Sharma examined him. "Severe sleep paralysis, exacerbated by stress and isolation," she told Jake, who'd rushed to his side. Daniel's blood work showed dehydration, but no drugs, nothing to explain his trek to the mine. "I saw it," Daniel rasped later, eyes wide. "A tunnel, bodies in the walls. It wanted me to stay." Dr. Sharma nodded. "Hypnagogic hallucinations, vivid but not real. Coping and recovery, a new dawn." Daniel's road back was slow. Dr. Sharma prescribed sleep hygiene, 8 hours nightly, no caffeine past noon, a consistent bedtime. She taught him to focus on breathing during episodes, slow inhales to calm the panic, and wiggle his toes to break the paralysis. Jake, guilt gnawing at him, moved into Daniel's room, keeping watch. "I should have listened," he told NPR in a November 2014 follow-up. Therapy helped. "Daniel, met weekly with a counselor, unpacking the terror, the watcher's grip fading with each session. By March 2015, he wrote, "Slept through the night. No shadow, no hum. I'm free." Daniel exhaled deeply, relief settling in. The Jackson mine was sealed off that spring after reports of strange noises, leaving the watcher's reality a question mark. Was it a hallucination born of Marquette's ghosts, or something older, hungrier? Local historian Edith Grayson leaned toward the former. The mind digs up what the land buries. Daniel returned to the ice in fall 2015, scoring the winning goal in a playoff game. He graduated in 2016, a degree in psychology tucked under his arm, a quiet smile on his face. On Dateline that year, he said, "It was hell, but I beat it. You can too. Sleep paralysis wasn't dangerous, just a trick of the brain, and Daniel's triumph proved it could be tamed. For those still frozen in its grasp, his story whispered hope. The light always returns." Story number 2, The Whisperer of Savannah, August 3rd, 2015. Savannah, Georgia. The air in Savannah hung heavy with humidity, a suffocating shroud that clung to everything it touched. Elena Ruiz, a 34-year-old nurse and single mother, sat on the sagging porch of her Abercorn Street rowhouse, a pre-Civil War relic with chipped paint peeling like old skin and a crooked iron railing rusted by time. Inside, her 6-year-old daughter Mia slept under a whirring fan, her small chest rising and falling in the sticky heat, her dark curls plastered to her forehead. Elena had just finished a grueling 12-hour shift at Memorial Health, her scrubs still damp with sweat as she sipped iced tea and watched the moss sway in the gnarled live oaks across the street, their branches casting twisted shadows in the moonlight. At 1:47 a.m., exhaustion dragged her inside to bed. An old four-poster she'd scored at a flea market, its warped wood creaking under her weight as she sank into the lumpy mattress. She woke, or didn't, at 3:03 a.m., her body a leaden slab. Her arms wouldn't lift, her legs wouldn't kick, and her voice was a mute prisoner in her throat. A weight pressed her into the mattress, heavy and deliberate, as if an unseen hand were pinning her down with malice. Over the fan's hum, she heard whispers, faint, garbled, slithering through the dark like threads of smoke. Panic surged, her heart pounding against her ribs, but her eyes could only dart, catching the flicker of moonlight on the peeling wallpaper, its faded floral pattern curling like dead vines. Then it released her. She bolted upright, chest heaving, and grabbed a hospital notepad from her nightstand, her trembling fingers fumbling with the pen. Notepad entry, August 3rd, 2015. 3 a.m., couldn't move. Felt like someone was pressing me into the bed, heard whispers, too faint to make out. Lasted maybe a minute, but my heart's still racing. What was that? Elena knew sleep paralysis from nursing school, a glitch where the brain wakes before the body, locked in REM atonia. It hit 8% of people regularly, 40% at least once per a 2011 Sleep Medicine Reviews study. Stress, night shifts, and raising Mia alone made her a prime candidate. "Just my mind," she whispered, rubbing her temples, her short black hair damp with sweat. But Savannah, with its haunted squares and ghost tour hustlers peddling tales of restless spirits, had a knack for blurring science and shadow. The rowhouse, built in 1837, carried its own whispers, creaks in the floorboards, drafts with no source, a faint groan in the walls like a sigh from the past. Elena had brushed it off as charm, a quirk of old Southern bones, until now. August 7th, 2015, the woman appears. 4 nights later, it struck again, sharper and more vivid. Elena had been up late charting patient notes, her eyes burning as she hunched over her kitchen table, the single bulb overhead buzzing faintly. She crawled into bed at midnight, the house settling around her, with soft, eerie pops. At 2:58 a.m., the paralysis gripped her, tighter this time, the weight on her chest like a stone slab grinding her into the sheets. The whispers sharpened into a woman's voice, soft, yet laced with venom. You stay. You pay. Her eyes flicked to the bedside, and there she was, a figure in a beige white dress, dark skin glistening as if wet from the river, eyes black and unblinking, like polished coal set in a face of fury. The air thickened with a faint, muddy scent, like the Savannah River at low tide, heavy with silt and decay. Elena's mind screamed for Mia, asleep down the hall, but her body stayed frozen, a prisoner in its own flesh. When it ended, she stumbled to the bathroom, splashing water on her face, her reflection pale and hollow in the cracked mirror, and scribbled again. Notepad entry, August 7th, 2015. It's clearer now. A woman's voice, angry, quiet. You stay. You pay. Saw her by my bed. Dark skin, white dress, eyes like coals. My chest burned like I couldn't breathe. Room smelled like mud. I'm scared. The next morning, Elena told her sister Carla, over coffee at the Sentient Bean, the cafe's warm air, a stark contrast to the chill in her bones. Carla, a no-nonsense paralegal with a buzz cut and a skeptic's squint, frowned over her latte. You're working too hard, Elle. It's sleep paralysis. Your brain's messing with you. Carla's voice softened as she saw Elena's hands tremble, the chipped mug rattling faintly. Mia's fine, right? It's just this creepy old house playing tricks. Elena nodded, sipping her coffee, but doubt gnawed at her like a splinter. She'd caught Mia staring at the bedroom doorway that week, her big brown eyes wide, whispering, "The lady's mad," her tiny voice trembling as she clutched her stuffed rabbit. Hallucinations plagued 75% of sleep paralysis sufferers. Shadows, voices, presences, per Dr. James Carter in a 2015 PBS special. The brain conjures threats from fear, he'd said, his calm tone a lifeline Elena clung to. Her woman fit the old hag archetype, a common terror in the liminal space between sleep and wakefulness. But the muddy smell, the burning chest, these were too vivid, too tied to the house's damp, riverine pulse, as if the walls themselves exhaled the past. August 11th, 2015. The curse speaks. The episodes grew relentless, a nightly descent into dread. August 9th. She's back every night. Pay, she keeps saying. Her hands hover over me, rough, calloused. I smell rot now, like dead fish on the shore. August 10th. Mia woke up crying, said she heard whispering too. I'm sleeping on the couch now, away from that room. Elena's shifts blurred into a haze of fatigue, her olive skin paling, her dark eyes ringed with shadow, her uniform hanging looser each day. Carla, stopping by with a bag of groceries on August 11th, found her pacing the kitchen, the linoleum scuffed under her restless steps. It's not just me, Elena said, voice cracking like dry twigs. Mia hears it. This house, it's alive with something. That night at 3:15 a.m., the paralysis hit harder, a vice of terror. The woman loomed closer, her white dress dripping as if she'd climbed from the river's depths, her voice a hiss that cut through the silence. Blood for blood. Rough hands clamped Elena's arms, cold and real, pinning her to the bed with a strength that left faint bruises. The room reeked of decay, mud, fish, blood, a stench that coated her throat. Mia's scream pierced the hall. "Mommy!" When Elena broke free, she ran to Mia, finding her curled under the covers, sobbing, "The lady's mad at us." Her rabbit clutched tight. Elena wrote, hands shaking. August 11th, 2015. She's louder, blood for blood. Felt her hands. Rough, real. Mia heard it too.
End of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2.
If you're new, hit subscribe and share with friends and family. Let us know in the comments how we can improve.